Bruce McLaren was born at the edge of the world, in a place where dreams were rarely spoken aloud. New Zealand was quiet, distant, and modest, just like his family. His father ran a small workshop, not a place for grand ambitions, but a place where things that others had discarded were fixed. Cars weren't a luxury, they were work, a necessity, a way to survive. Bruce grew up among tools, dirty hands, and the quiet conversations of adults who didn't expect much from life. There was no glamour, no grand words, just work. And the sense that you had to prove yourself every day, even when no one was watching. Even as a child, he understood that he came from a world that wouldn't forgive weakness. But it was also a world that taught patience. In that silence, far from Europe and racing tracks, a quiet, stubborn thought began to take shape, a thought that boundaries might not really be where everyone told him they were. When he was only a few years old, Bruce's body began to betray him. Bone disease confined him to a hospital bed, while other children ran, fell, and got up without a second thought. Months passed slowly, filled with pain, therapies, and the looks of adults trying to be gentle but unable to hide their worry. Doctors spoke quietly. Some doubted he would ever walk normally, let alone endure physical exertion. For a child from an already remote part of the world, this was a double punishment, a body that wouldn't obey, and a destiny that limited space. But in that immobility, Bruce learned something crucial. He learned to watch, to listen, to think ahead. While he couldn't use his legs, he used his mind, and that habit never left him. When he finally returned home, his father's workshop became his refuge. There, he didn't have to be fast, strong, or perfect. He could understand things. Cars were complex, yet honest. If something didn't work, there was a reason. If he put in the effort, there was a solution. Bruce spent hours watching parts being taken apart and reassembled. He wasn't only interested in how a car went fast, but why it moved at all. The smell of oil, the sound of metal, and the quiet concentration felt more natural to him than playgrounds. In that space, between tools and engines, a bond formed that would last. Cars weren't a hobby, they became an extension of his will to make up for everything his body had once denied him. The idea of racing didn't come as an explosion, but as a slow realization. Bruce didn't dream of audiences, trophies, or magazine covers. He dreamed of the moment when man and machine worked as one. Racing was a test of mind, courage, and control, not a need to be seen. Every lap, every speed felt like an answer to the doubts that had followed him since childhood. He didn't want to escape his limits, he wanted to outsmart them. Leaving New Zealand wasn't heroic. There were no fanfares or grand promises. It was a journey into uncertainty, with little money and even less security. Europe seemed cold and indifferent to a young man from the end of the world. He had no family name to open doors, no connections to shield him from failure. He had only his knowledge, patience, and a stubborn belief that he belonged where the fastest cars raced. The first steps in the European racing world were painful. Rejections came more easily than opportunities. Some doubted his talent, others his endurance. Mistakes were costly, and every failure brought the question, was this path even right? But Bruce was not one to retreat. Every defeat became a lesson. In a world that does not forgive weakness, he learned to survive quietly, persistently, and without regret. Entry into Formula One did not come as a reward, but as another test. Collaboration with Cooper opened doors, but it did not bring peace. Tracks were faster, rivals more merciless, and mistakes more visible than ever. Bruce drove thoughtfully, almost cautiously, yet behind that calm lay immense concentration. He wasn't the loudest voice in the pit, but his feedback was precise. People began to realize that in front of them was not just a driver, but someone who understood the car from the inside out. While others focused solely on driving, Bruce thought about everything. How the car behaved under stress, why it lost stability, what could be improved. He was both a driver and an engineer, a man who sought not perfection in speed, but in balance. This quality set him apart. He didn't want to adapt to the car, he wanted the car to grow with him. The decision to start his own team was not romantic, it was dangerous. At that moment, Bruce took on a responsibility that would crush many. Accountability for people, technology, and every failed lap. McLaren Racing was born out of the need to do things differently, not faster at all costs, but smarter. The team carried more than his name, it carried his philosophy that boundaries are moved through knowledge, not noise. The first victories didn't come quietly. They were the result of patience, repeated attempts, and an insatiable hunger for precision. Every innovation, every technical detail introduced by him and his team made a difference on the track. It was a moment when effort turned into recognition, but that success also carried a weight. Speed became the standard, not a privilege. Every win increased expectations, and Bruce knew that mistakes were no longer an option. Perfection became the only path, and the pressure was ever-present, quiet, yet relentless. The pressure for perfection extended beyond the track. Bruce carried the burden of decisions, trust, and the team's future. Every car detail, every strategy, every innovation, it was personal. There was no room for weakness. The team breathed through him, and he breathed through the team. Every mistake was too loud, every success fleeting. Ambition pushed him forward, but it also isolated him. Beneath every victory, beneath every smile, lay a quiet doubt. Am I good enough? Can I endure another lap? The tragic death of Bruce McLaren shook everyone, the team, drivers, engineers, even those who had doubted him while he was alive. He had been a quiet but immense force, the pillar of everything they had built. His passing left a void that could not be filled. Questions lingered in silence. How could they continue without the man who had been the heart, mind, and vision of it all? Yet even in that shock, Bruce's presence did not disappear. His philosophy, precision, and relentless spirit continued to shape the team, like a shadow guiding the hand that creates. The team had to learn to survive without him. Without the founder, everything seemed uncertain, but Bruce's vision remained. His methods, mindset, and unyielding pursuit of perfection became the guide. McLaren survived because it became more than one man. The team learned to channel grief into motivation, to turn sorrow into precision, and emptiness into action. Every decision, every victory, became a reminder that Bruce McLaren was not just a name on a wall, but a spirit that still drives every lap. The rise of the team with legendary drivers would have been nearly impossible without Bruce, yet it was his philosophy that guided them. People like Lauda, Hunt, Prost, they were not just racing, they were becoming part of the vision Bruce had left. Every victory carried his spirit, precision, patience, analysis. McLaren became a symbol in Formula One, a team that pursued not just speed, but perfection in everything it did. The racetrack was no longer a place to measure the strength of a driver, but the harmony between man, machine, and idea. Transitioning from racing to supercars was natural, but not easy. McLaren Automotive did not want to make fast cars alone, it wanted to bring the same philosophy, the same attention to detail, and the same passion that had defined the racing team. Every line, every mechanism, every engine carried Bruce McLaren's history. The team realized that speed does not exist on its own, but as an expression of knowledge and discipline. McLaren Automotive created cars that are symbols of technology, precision, and elegance, always carrying a hidden message from the founder. Boundaries are pushed with mind and heart. Today, McLaren is more than a name or a logo. It is a symbol of technology, precision, and endless racing. Every car, every innovation, carries a piece of Bruce McLaren. His spirit still oversees the team, even though he is not physically present. Pressure and high expectations remain, but now as a legacy that motivates. Every lap, every engine, every track is a reminder of what began in a humble workshop in New Zealand, where a boy with health challenges dreamed of speed and perfection. Bruce McLaren's legacy is not only in trophies or cars. It lies in the idea that neither the body, circumstances, nor obstacles can stop someone who believes in themselves and in knowledge. His story lives through the team, through the vehicles, through the races that never end. Every detail of a McLaren today is a reminder. One person can change everything, and perhaps most importantly leave the world better than they found it. Bruce McLaren did not leave. He still drives in every lap, in every engine, in every heart that wants to be faster, more precise, and braver, just as he dreamed.